This is the Nissan Micra. Like its name suggests, it's not very big. That makes it easy to park and maneuver, easy on fuel, and perfect if you're after a car that's simple, agile, and one that'll fit into little spaces. Maybe it's an ideal ride if you're living in a congested city, or if you want something extra easy on fuel, or if you're just one of those folks who wants to drive a car that's sized and equipped and priced to deliver what they need and nothing more. And speaking of pricing, Nissan's latest little car's price tag isn't very big at all. See camera guy James's camera? It costs more than the Micra. In fact, you're looking at the least expensive new car available in Canada. In very base trim seen here with its manual transmission, key-operated locks, stick-operated mirrors, and lever-operated windows, this tester carries a price tag of $9,998. That's under 10 grand for a brand new car. Your brand new car. One that no one else has sullied, one with a big zero on the odometer, and one with a driver's seat never visited by any buttocks but your own. And whether you're after a thrifty and affordable little machine as your first car, an affordable second car for the family, or something to drive to and from work when you don't need the size and fuel bill of the family SUV, in Micra you'll find a package that's got pretty much everything you need to access the miracle of personal transportation. Micra has room snugly for 4 adults, providing they're of average height and width. Front seats seem roomier, and the rear are probably best left for the kids, though a grown-up or two can sit back here if needed. Just be sure to ask them to lock the doors themselves before leaving, since the rear locks can be a bit of a pain to work from up front. These rear seats fold down to make extra room for your things, your stuff, or maybe your pet when there aren't people sitting in them. And when there are, flip them up and you've still got room for a few bags or a day's worth of shopping for 1 or 2 people with little issue. You'll find a few spaces on board to store your at-hand items, wallet, phone, cup of coffee, and so on too. You're catching on that this is a basic car, and as such it's not horsepower or a luxurious ride or spleen-shattering handling that's selling the Nissan Micra. It's also not styled with a look that makes nearby children run for their mothers, and it doesn't make an exhaust note that could peel paint, and it's probably not going to gather a crowd in a parking lot. No, what sells this little car, which my mom thinks is about the cutest thing on 4 wheels, is affordable access to a basic motoring experience. The interior, basic as it is in terms of trim materials, does have some nice touches relative to the price. Chrome door handles, some contrasting textures, and an upscale-looking stereo head unit, for instance, dial up the interior a little, just showing some nice attention to detail. Handling and steering are fitting of a $10,000 car. When you steer, the car goes in the direction where it's pointed, and when you don't steer, it carries on straight. It's 10 grand, remember. That's all the steering needs to do. Of course, as a bonus, the steering is tight and turns sharply at low speeds, plus it's light for parking, making the Micra a parking lot ninja capable of sniping any parking space it likes with ease. And just look at this tiny turning radius. The ride is well done for in-town driving. The suspension feels more tough and robust than I expected, and it's sprung fairly softly, meaning it's almost always comfortable. On the highway at higher speeds, the Micra's lightweight, slightly soft suspension tuning and steering that loses precision with speed saw the stability and precision diminish slightly if you're traveling a little beyond, say, a 100 km/h speed limit, and especially on a windy day or near transport trucks. You'll need 2 hands firmly on the wheel at all times, as the Micra can get blown around easily and feels a little uneasy. The tester was rocking a set of winter tires. Consider these absolutely mandatory if you're driving your lightweight Micra in the snow. Its ABS system works effectively and with less vibration and buzzing than I had expected when engaged, and the traction control keeps wheel spin to a minimum when you're on slippery surfaces. Though both of these systems are only as good as the tires attached, and these Michelin Excise tires did a good job of finding grip. So, easy to park, easy to fuel, easy to drive, and room enough for you and your pals and some of your stuff. What else is there to say about a 10 grand car that's big on basic? Well, there are a few surprises. One is this glove box, not a big deal, but it's huge and deep and easily compensates for the lack of a covered center console storage bin. My favorite surprise, though, is this. Watch the heck out. You're looking at a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder with 109 horsepower. That's not tons, but the Micra is one of the lightest cars in or near its segment, so it has one of the best power-to-weight ratios going. And here's the thing, it's a lovely little engine. It operates smoothly at low revs, makes enough low-end torque that you actually don't need to downshift for most hills, fires up like a champ at 30 below, and it makes a nice growl when you give it some redline. That's the surprise. So many engines in cars like this sound like an old Hoover choking on a shag carpet when you give it the beans, but this one sounds like it loves it. It's a surprisingly quick little machine too.
All right, so what have we got here? Well, end of the day, affordable access to basic, brand new transportation that feels well put together and rides and handles and steers and brakes, as well as a $10,000 car should, maybe even a little bit better in a couple of areas. Then you've got those little surprises that I mentioned kind of dialed in just to add a little bit more appeal to the package. I am loving this powertrain. The throws in the 5-speed manual shifter, a little longer than I like. Big deal because that engine is a snarly little powerhouse and I just love it. It makes the Micra a little bit of a sleeper and makes it more fun to drive than you probably think.
In fact, they're even making a race car out of the Micra. Here it is, the Nissan Micra Cup Car, available for folks after a racer that's ready for weekend motorsports. Cool. So let's sum up Canada's most affordable and secretly quick little subcompact. You are likely going to like the Micra's small car goodness, agility, ease of parking, good fuel mileage, and minimal second guessing whether you'll fit into a given space. If you're a bit of a performance fan, you'll like the surprisingly potent engine too, and the ride in most circumstances. You may wish for a higher feeling of stability and plantedness at highway speeds, and though I know it's a cheap car, I really wonder what it would cost Nissan to give me an armrest. There isn't one as standard, which sucks if you have arms. End of the day, Micra competes most closely with this Mitsubishi Mirage. It's also $99.98 since they chopped the price when the Micra came out. It's sized similarly, trimmed similarly, and I found it had an even more confident highway feel at speed. Mirage's 3-cylinder engine doesn't come near the Micra for power output, though Mitsubishi's lengthy warranty of 160,000 kilometers might compensate. If you're test driving one of these, be sure to test drive the other. Thanks for watching.